Hey guys, Youngblood Fantasy 91 here, participating in a huge collab video for you wonderful people. Initially, I did not pay too much mind to the Hero of Tomorrow's top 10 list of cartoons that he hates, because he's a straight-up nonconformist, but when Master TP and Unsealed Cross approached me with Hero's evaluation of South Park, I was immediately picked for two reasons. A, Cross and Master TP felt his explanations for why he disliked other shows on the list were threadbare, unsupported, and arbitrary, and B, I actually really love South Park. I used to be very enamored with the show back in my delicate teenage years, and I was well versed in the intricacies of the South Park universe. So when I listened to Hero's threadbare, unsupported, and arbitrary explanation for why he, quote, hated the show, unquote, I realized that he needs some assistance in understanding why South Park is the way it is, as well as a rundown of what the definition of hate means. With that said, I'll listen in and I'll see what I have to say about this.
Number 6. Back when I said I was going to keep the worst episodes list going as a yearly thing, somebody suggested that I put an episode of South Park on the next list. Well, I didn't, and there's a very good reason for that. I don't like South Park, and that's not to say that every episode of this cartoon is crap. Just about 70% of it.
And here is the million-dollar question. What is it about 70% of the show that immediately causes you to dislike it? I mean, surely there must be some sound and understandable reason. Though you'll see later on that it's not the case, unfortunately.
You might be thinking that I have a problem with the show because, oh, it's offensive and mean-spirited. Well, no. I realize that's kind of the point. Ne'er-do-well doesn't have that excuse. That was just poor writing.
Okay, apparently Hero tried to compare the abject, caustic, satirical, and as he said, mean-spirited theme of South Park with My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, which is quite possibly one of the most innocuous shows extant on television. I don't think at any point the show had characters that execrated the most vile of curses, had episodes that criticized celebrities in modern society, or had the potential to offend a ridiculously large amount of people. The connection here is as unclear as an opaque resin.
However, there's a difference between attempting satire and actually succeeding at it. Most of the jokes just amount to, hey, this belief sucks and this belief sucks. Have some crap and death jokes.
The reason you think this is because you are drastically oversimplifying the main themes of the show. The show is not 100% contingent on undermining other people's belief systems. If you actually bother to analyze the show, you'd realize they cover a wide gamut of things, such as satirizing popular culture, abortion, global warming, homosexuality, literature, the war on terror, and yes, religion, but not every episode does this. Maybe it's because you didn't watch the earlier seasons, because I'm pretty sure all of these episodes don't fall into your inaccurate black and white categorizations. And if you don't believe me, here are some examples.
Children, there's some huge bulbous monstrosity heading for the classroom. Oh my God, it's awful. It's coming for the door.
Hello, kids.
I'm addicted to marijuana and crystal meth and crack.
Wow, Robert Smith is the greatest person that ever lived.
Our savior.
Can I have my walkie-talkie back now, please?
No way. You gave it to us. It's mine now.
And don't get me started on how awful a character Eric Cartman is. The kid may have a memorable voice, but over the years he's literally become more evil than the devil. At least the devil in this universe.
Woo-hoo, you figured out Cartman is a sadistic character. You want a freaking medal? Cartman is an anti-hero figure and is supposed to be deliberately controversial. Trey Parker and Matt Stone stated that Cartman was created to reflect how other kids can say whatever the hell they want, or at least believe they can say whatever the hell they want without any consequence. They built on that theme because they wanted to push boundaries. That's why Cartman stands out as a character, and if you really want to point out the obvious and use that as a point, then it's a thin argument.
Oh, and speaking of how the series treats its characters, remember when Isaac Hayes left the series? They made Chef into an over-the-top pedophile using old clips of him, and then killed him off so hard that even Happy Viking couldn't have come back from it.
But see, you're leaving out important details regarding Isaac Hayes that I need to mention, because obviously you seem to know zero about the context of the episode. Isaac Hayes, may he rest his soul, was a member of the Church of Scientology, and when South Park lampooned Scientology entrapped in the closet, Hayes was offended and left the show over those grounds, even though he did not have a problem with South Park lampooning other religions such as Christianity and Judaism. So in order for Trey Parker and Matt Stone to give the impression Chef returned, they spliced old recordings of Chef for the episode. This in turn was parodical Universal, so I'm assuming you missed the point of the deliberate splicing. And they killed him off because Isaac Hayes wasn't coming back anytime soon. Of course, it was over the top, but that's how Trey and Matt are. And you would know this if you actually, again, went back and reviewed other episodes and not jumped to conclusions about how they run things.
Now, some people have said that this was supposed to be a parody of how characters got killed off when actors leave the series, but it's still a terrible parody when you consider that Chef was one of the few likable characters on the show.
Which is from your perspective, and it doesn't change the fact that you can correctly interpret his death as parodical. You may reject the interpretation, but it's still valid. So I don't see how this works here.
Or hell, how about Stanley's Cup, the episode that everyone wanted me to talk about, even those who were fans of South Park, and for good reason. Frankly, though, I don't think that's necessary, as Rowdy pretty much already trashed it fully in his worst South Park episodes list.
Ah, yes, Stanley's Cup, the only South Park episode that made me legitimately angry. Two things about your treatment of the episode here. One, not going into complete detail kind of detracts from your position. You could have used this as a major point as to why certain aspects of the show disappointed or angered you. Instead, you referred to someone else because, again, it hints at the fact that you didn't see it in its entirety. And two, after getting angry at the episode, I then realized it was South Park at its blackest, and the black humor can be sensed a mile away. The ending was supposed to parody your everyday inspirational sports movie, and Trey and Matt managed to do that effectively. Because it inspired such emotion in me, I felt it was an effective and well thought out parody. They did their job. Again, this is something that flew over your head, and to those who complained to you about it, it flew over their heads too.
And yet, there's one thing about this show that I just cannot hate, no matter how hard I try. The music. I can't tell you how many times I've heard a song from AMV Hell or some similar parody video and gone, wait, South Park did that?
Okay, stop. Stop. You are creating a list of cartoons that you hate. Hate! We're talking abhorrence, animosity, anathema, hostility, ill will, contempt, revulsion, etc. I understand you wanted to highlight positive characteristics of the show, but I thought your list revolved around reasons why you disliked, hated the show. Giving clemency to certain aspects of it doesn't mean you hate it fully anymore. Why even put it on the list then, if you feel it's not as bad as you make it out to be? I can understand if you mentioned this positive aspect in passing, but you went into extreme detail, pointing out certain episodes you liked, and citing the nostalgia critic for Christ's sakes. Skipping because it's ultimately irrelevant.
Bottom line, I respect that South Park is at least trying to be equal opportunity offensive. I just don't find the show as funny as everyone else seems to. The music, however, still kicks ass.
I feel you're more ambivalent about the show rather than polarized towards hating the show. Again, I ask why it's on the list. Coming up next, more cartoons he kind of dislikes and more arbitrary reasons to kind of dislike them. Onward!